Hi guys, this is Pokemon, aka Heather. How are you all doing? I am new to YouTube, so I'm going to start off my channel by just doing my top 10 favorite Pokemon from every region. Now, this is my opinion. If you have a different opinion, I would love for you to tell me it inside the comments. And if you like the video, leave a like and also subscribe if you can. It really helps out the video. And without further ado, let's get into it. This is my top 10 favorite Kanto Pokemon. And now let's start with number 10. Number 10 for me would be Abra. This Pokemon is easy to get, but also it's really hard. To be honest, the fact that it's a 50-50 chance if you're even going to catch it when you first encounter it is really sucky. Unless you have a trapping move like Spiderweb inside of Gen 6 games, that's what I used a lot of, and also Gen 7 games, it's not really easy to catch. Abra is a Pokemon that will teleport as soon as you find it. So as soon as you find that Pokemon, it's gone. And if you don't throw a Pokeball or have a quick ball right away, it's a good chance that you got a 50-50 chance of catching it before it runs. And if you have a Pokemon that's faster than that, then yeah, Apple actually gives you good experience. But other than that, it's not the easiest. And it's shiny. If you can find a shiny Abra and you don't have a move that keeps it inside of the battle at the whole time, you lose that shiny, and that hurts. Because inside of most of these games, it's a 1 in 8,000% chance that you're not going to find a shiny. So it's not worth it. And I may like it because it's cute, but it's really hard to catch. But it is a good Pokemon if you can get one. Now for number 9, we'll be doing Beedrill. Beedrill I like for the reason of actually it's shiny. I love the green and the black coloring go together, and I love the mega. And they gave it a perfect mega for shiny. Inside hot gold, whenever I had a Weedle, especially for Soul Silver where it was more common to find these Pokemon, I love finding the shiny because seeing that little green bug following behind you made you not think of it as a bee that's gonna kill you, like a wasp. So it made it so much cooler, and I love the difference between the two designs, how they basically took black and yellow and made it to green and black, completely putting the black inside the same spot with just changing the yellow was a very small change, but it was big enough to impact the game. And it made it to where if you actually found the shiny, it was worth it to hunt for it because it actually is a cool shiny. But it all depends on what you think is best. To me, it's a cool Pokemon and I like it. I think it actually has some good moves. Not inside Gen 1, I will admit, but later on, they actually did give it some really good moves. And the fact it's based off of a bee and a wasp idea means it's really, really interesting idea. And I think it's worth the hunt. If you really want this Pokemon on your team, take the time. Especially if you can catch it as a Weedle and train it up because you know what? That Pokemon will actually be one of the best on your team, in my opinion. Now for number 8, we have Ghastly. I love ghost type Pokemon. That's why one of the mascots of my channel is Frostlass, who is Ice and Ghost. Ghost and Ice are my two favorite types, and I love them both. They're very interesting, very cool Pokemon, but Ghastly is very different. I love Ghastly because all they had was this idea of a bouncy ball, and actually, with a lot of ghost hunting shows, they say that any orb that shows up on screen during the episode of Ghost Hunters will be called a ghost because that's how they start. And I love the fact that they took the Ghastly line and did that, where they started as just a little tiny orb, and then it went into a semi-transparent form with Haunter. Then it went to a fully physical form with Ginga, which is really cool to see. And I loved inside the anime when they did the Maiden on the Rock episode because it really made it to where English English and American viewers could actually understand a little bit better the idea of the Pokemon because of the fact they use something that would be like a folklore or something that's believed for an urban legend nowadays. There's a lot of urban legends about the Lady in White. That's basically what it was, is Ghastly turned into the Maiden on the Rock and tricked Brock into falling in love. And that was the coolest part because even though I was a little kid, I wasn't scared of this ghost type Pokemon because of the fact that they made it so interesting and fun. And I will say it's one of my favorite Pokemons. I love the idea of it shiny, just going from the dark purple and blue to switching those colors and making a whole new color. And I love indigo. It's such a pretty color, and they did so perfect with it. I really think this is a Pokemon that's worth it on your Kanto team. For number 7, we have Ninetales. Now, Ninetales is a very strong fire type. No, Arcanine is not on my list because, unfortunately for me, I never saw the point of Arcanine. They basically needed two Pokemon to counteract, and that's what they did with Ninetales and Arcanine. But to me, I always use Ninetales more than Arcanine, and I've always felt that while Arcanine may be faster, Ninetales' attack always made it seem like that Pokemon was the better one. I will say that Arcanine is good if you're really into competitive, but I'm not a competitive player. I'm just casual. I just want to have fun with Pokemon. So for me, I'd much rather take the pretty Ninetales over the really rough-looking Arcanine, but that's just my opinion. And I really love it shiny because how they changed gold and white, that silver and blue, really understands that it's a hotter flame. A lot of scientists say that a blue flame is a lot hotter than a yellow-orange flame because of the chemicals that are mixed in. So by taking that concept and putting it into Pokemon really made it cool. And it's like day and night between these two Pokemon. They will, the daytime form will be the gold and white, and symbolizing the sun, and the nighttime form will be the silver and the blue, symbolizing the moon and the moonlight and the beautiful stars. And I think it's a really good idea. The next Pokemon on my list is number 6, Haunter. Now, as I already said, I love ghost types. This one's here because when I first played Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, I was able to get a shiny Haunter on my team. And I wasn't even searching for it. I was just playing through the game normally, and I ended up finding one. And I love that fact. Because of the fact that I wasn't even searching, it made it such a cool Pokemon to find. And it made it worth the time. I just had to trade it with my brother, and I got shiny Gengar, and being able to put it into Sword and Shield now and use this Pokemon without having any trouble is so cool because I know it's a Pokemon I found as a shiny, and I wasn't looking. I don't look for shinies because I'm not very good at that doing one thing. I have to multitask. So for me, I just don't really do shiny hunting, but I do congratulate anyone who can do it and keep the conversation going. You guys are really good. I just can't do it. But I love the shiny. It's so cool and so pretty. And the fact that it just has that blue tongue and a darker purple. And purple and blue are my two favorite colors. So for me, it was the awesome mix of the two, and being my favorite typing at that time made it to where it was worth a Pokemon that I wanted to get on my team. And I was so happy to use it on my Let's Go team and my Sword and Shield team, and it turned into a really good Pokemon. I've gotten a lot of shiny Ghastlies off of it just by doing eggs when I'm just looking for a random gender type, and it's so cool to be able to get a shiny of the gender you're looking for. I will say that. But for me, I would have lost if I had not had that Haunter because of the fact that when it came down to that final battle against Blue, against your rival inside Let's Go, it just I almost lost to Rhydon, but Haunter was able to was able to invade the attack and also get the final attack off and let me win the game. And that's a reason why it's on this list. It's one of my Pokemon that I know if I really am inside a bind, I can go find it again, and it will help me out with that bind, definitely. Now for number 5, we have Horsey. Horsey I love because it's such a cute little idea for a seahorse Pokemon, but also I loved it most because of the anime. Now the anime was something I grew up watching. I'm only 25, I turned 26 this year, and trust me, I grew up watching the anime my whole life. And I love the movies, but always, every single anime scene, I can remember after Misty got her horsey, how every single time it would spray ink at Team Rocket. Like one episode that really sticks out in my mind is how when they were at a big party and all the Pokemon got stolen, Horsey was among those stolen Pokemon. So what it did was it outsmarted the robbers by spitting ink all around the route, so that by the time they could hide the Pokemon, Horsey had already made a trail for the heroes to reach to save it. And I thought that was the coolest thing because it just shows that this Pokemon is so smart and so good at everything it does. And I love the fact that it's not water dragon. I know some people don't agree with that, but the fact it's just pure water, which is what a seahorse would be, is kind of cool. And I love that fact. Now, for number 4, we have Gengar. No one should have seen this coming as a surprise. Sooner or later, Gengar was going to show up on my list. I like Gengar because of the fact that it's such a silly Pokemon. And I love the fact that it's not actually as selfish as people want to put it down to be. I know a lot of Pokédex entries say it's selfish and a dark soul. But for me, I always remember that episode after Ash is battling Selena and he loses, he goes to the Haunted Mansion where he finds Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. And I always remember that Haunter was sad to leave when it wanted to go with Ash, but Gengar and Ghastly were not sad. They told it to go in their own special way. And the Gingo's way was to stick out his tongue and make the silliest face, and it just made me laugh because it was like, it's okay, we're gonna be happy even though you're going off with a new trainer. And I thought that was a great thing because it showed that even though they were losing a friend and a family member, they were willing to let that person go be themselves. And I think that's a great message for a lot of today's kids to hear. Now, as for number 3, I have Butterfree. Now, a lot of people don't like the starter bug types, and to be honest, I don't like Caterpie or Metapod, but I love Butterfree. I love butterflies growing up, and I love seeing them nowadays whenever they just flitter past, and they're so beautiful and so small, and you just wanna hold them. And I loved when I was little, I went to a butterfly sanctuary, and that's really where my love of butterflies came from. But for me, it's one of my favorite bug type starter Pokemon because of the fact that it's actually gets a psychic type move in a lot of generations as soon as it evolves into Butterfree from Metapod, and also it goes out of its way to make sure that its trainer is happy. Now, the only episode I can say that really brought a tear to my eye inside Pokemon, there was a lot of them. The first movie did as well, but the Goodbye Butterfree was so sad. And I honestly, the only thing I hated about that episode though was the fact that I thought the pink Butterfree for so long was a shiny. I wanted that pink Butterfree, but then when I saw the actual shiny and saw the way it looks, it's not the best shiny Pokemon, but I really wish it was that vibrant pink that we saw inside the anime. And I love the fact that even though Ash was sad to see it go, he made a decision that's right for Butterfree and not for him. And that's the best part. Because sometimes we have to make a decision that may not be right for everyone, but is right for you at that time. And I love seeing that. And I know it was so sad. I cried afterwards, and I'm sure a lot of you did. It's just something that always I can remember thinking back to whenever I saw Butterfree and saw how strong it was and how it fought forever for Ash up until the day it left. It really is a Pokemon that I think is worth the mention on my list, and it's one of my favorites. Now my top two are Alakazam is number 2. Now, Alakazam is one of the best Pokemon for a Kanto playthrough. Now, if you can only get Kadabra, it's okay. It doesn't matter. But Alakazam is a great Pokemon because of the fact that inside of Gen 1, it had no weaknesses. That's why Sabrina was so strong inside Gen 1. With the glitch inside the code, they couldn't make Ghost type strong against it. Only Bug type and Beedrill had the only good Bug type move. And Jolteon got Twin Needle too, but unfortunately for Jolteon, there was no type advantage. Beedrill unfortunately is pot poison, which caused it to lose to Sabrina, unfortunately, because it was weak to Psychic. But for me, I really love the fact that even though this Pokemon is strong, inside Gen 2 they gave it all 3 of the elemental punches. Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and Fire Punch. All 3 of those made it unstoppable inside Gen 2. It made it to a Pokemon that inside Gen 1, yeah, it had no weaknesses, so it was unstoppable. Inside Gen 2, it had the weaknesses, but it had counter attacks for every single type of Pokemon inside the game at that time, which was great help for against those really strong gym leaders that you were behind on training, because at that time you had a lot of grinding you had to do in between every gym. with the level cap being so screwed up over there on Gen 2, it made it a lot easier to beat the game. If you chose Cyndaquil and then you got the Abra and the Alakazam all the way, you were basically unstoppable inside those games and you won the whole game. There was no trainer who could stop you, and even Red would lose to that. Now, for my number one Kanto favorite Pokemon is Vulpix. It's so cute. Vulpix is one of my favorite Pokemon, and it's one of those Pokemon that ever since Brock got in the anime, I agree. I would be walking around carrying it like a little tiny puppy. It's what, and that's why I love it. But also, I love that it's so strong. If you don't evolve Vulpix in the Ninetales, this Pokemon can actually be a very strong Pokemon if you train it right. And if you work towards it, this Pokemon will be the greatest Pokemon on your team, and will make it so much easier and so much fun. I will say it is a little bit hard to train it sometimes because of where you get it in the game and how early you get it. If you get it really late, like they did inside of Lola, some people don't want to train it at that point because it's so late in game. Other people, they will choose to. I always use full picks on one of my Kanto playthrough teams, and also I love it because it reminds me of my little tiny puppy Nixie, Selena. It reminds me of Selena, my little tiny puppy. She is the sweetest little girl, and I love having her around because she goes out of her way to make sure that I'm happy. And I think that Vulpix would act the same way. Well, that was my top 10 favorite Pokemon of the Kanto region. This is Pokemon. If you like it, please leave a like. Also, if you have a different opinion, please tell me down in the comments. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. Tell me why you don't like a Pokemon. If there's a Pokemon on my list I didn't say that you like, let me know. Maybe I just couldn't add it to this list because it's only 10, and maybe inside the future I'll do top 50. And with that, I will also ask that you guys subscribe, and I would like to introduce you guys to my puppies. This is Nixie. She is 5 years old and she is the oldest of my doggies. She is a Shih Tzu Pug Chihuahua mix and she is just a big, huge baby. See you guys later and thank you for watching the video. Subscribe if you have time and leave a like and a comment. Bye.